Good evening, and welcome to the 2021 NCFA Spring Fling. My name is Ryan Guy, and I'm the Director of Forensics at Modesto Junior College, and it's my privilege tonight to start our showcase and awards ceremony. It has long been the tradition at NCFA during the Spring Fling tournament that we showcase some of the best presentations that students gave from our region over the year. This year is no exception. In fact, I would say that this year was significantly more difficult as students had to navigate the wide variety of challenges and obstacles that this competitive season brought. Tonight, we have a selection of performances deemed to be excellent by the coaches of the NCFA. We hope that you enjoy these presentations and they give you something to inspire to as you work to put together your events to come back for an even better next season. Again, thanks for coming to the Spring Fling. The award ceremony will follow the showcase. Enjoy the show.
On this week's episode of The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon enters Leonard's laboratory with some very bad news. A team of Swedish physicists are trying to scoop their superfluid vortex theory. However, the liquid helium that they need won't be available for a month. In a March 23, 2017 article published by the Universities of Vermont and Waterloo, scientists have discovered at low temperatures, helium, the same substance that makes balloons flow, becomes a special type of liquid known as a superfluid. Moreover, scientists have recently discovered that the forces controlling a black hole mimics the behaviors of superfluid helium, an extraordinary liquid that flows without friction. Gas world, which has nothing to do with farting, explains in their article on May 21st, 2019, that helium on Earth is produced when uranium and thorium decay in the Earth's crust. What in the H-E, you may ask? Recent trials have discovered that the odd behavior of superfluid helium could be a key to understanding black holes, dark matter, and space-time itself. With this understanding, the applications are potentially endless on how this can help humanity. First, we will attract ourselves into what helium is and its properties. Next, we'll get pulled into the new discoveries of superfluid helium before finally getting sucked into its implications. Because if you aren't impressed with my black hole puns, clearly you don't understand the gravity of the situation. Sheldon and Leonard try to ask their friend Barry to see if he has any helium in reserve. So first, we need to understand why helium is so important. The biggest use for helium by far is keep things cool. At room temperature, helium is normally a gas. However, at 460 degrees below Fahrenheit, helium gas condenses to become a liquid. And as it cools even further, it becomes a state of matter, known as a superfluid. In this state, it has no viscosity, and it does some odd things, such as climbing up walls of a dish, or leaking through apparently solid materials. Scientific American on February 20th, 2019 explains, when most liquids are cooled, the strong attraction between the atoms locks them together into place and they become a solid. However, since helium atoms are so light and weakly drawn to each other, they remain as a liquid and the atoms are constantly moving. Currently, scientists are discovering the unique qualities of superfluids in different applications because the better we understand how superfluids move and behave, the better we can exploit their unique properties. For instance, scientists from Oxford University demonstrate putting liquid helium in a container with tiny pores in a BBC News video published on January 11, 2011. In a normal liquid like water, the atoms will bounce off each other in the container, creating friction. However, within liquid helium, the atoms will actually move together in unison, creating no friction. With no friction, the particles will start spinning, creating a whirlwind pattern that'll actually go over the sides of the container. It's sort of like when you stir your coffee too hard with a spoon and it spills over the edge, but only here there's no spoon. And the coffee It's stirring itself. But it's not coffee, it's liquid helium. Stay with me. Sheldon and Leonard end up meeting a guy named Skippy that secretly sold liquid helium, and they explain their theory that space time can be interpreted as being on the surface of a superfluid. Let's look into the new discoveries of superfluid helium. Black holes and superfluids can be more different from one another. One is known for being so dense that light cannot escape, and the other is a bizarre liquid that moves by itself and flows without friction. We know now that in superfluids, atoms will move together as one to perform an action, such as flowing over a container. However, new computer simulations have confirmed that superfluid helium follows a bizarre and strange rule from black holes called the entanglement area law. In simple terms, atoms in superfluid helium are entangled together, allowing them to share information and influence each other's behaviors. Going back in time to the 1970s, Stephen Hawking discovered something strange about black holes. He found that regardless of the amount of matter or information that fell into a black hole, it would not increase in size. This would be like having a file cabinet that never gets bigger, no matter how many files you put inside of it. Scientists from the University of Vermont have taken this knowledge by Hawking to replicate their own black hole. In their scientific study conducted on March 21st, 2017, the scientists used a supercomputer to stimulate a container of superfluid helium atoms in cold temperatures. What's freaking scientists out is as the atoms get bigger, they don't take up more space. These new results demonstrated for the first time how the entanglement area law in superfluids mimics the behaviors of black holes. Sheldon and Leonard returned to the lab and they realized that the helium that they bought was stolen from a university and they could get jail time if they were ever caught. Even though they have a tough decision to make on whether to return it to the seller or not, there's so many implications we can use with this superfluid helium. As research is still continuing to be developed behind this phenomenon, scientists are not only beginning to understand how liquid helium works, but what the future holds in our understanding of black holes. Now that we know that liquid helium stays at a constant temperature of negative 460 degrees Fahrenheit, this important property is the main reason that functions in superconducting equipment, in particle accelerators, and magnets that build semiconductors. Speaking of magnets, liquid helium also helps MRI, or magnetic resonant imaging machines operate. To better explain how this works, Forbes goes in depth in their article on June 13, 2017, that MRI machines rely on very cold superconducting magnets. The magnets in MRI machines include many coils of wire that conduct electricity. Bathing these wires in liquid helium can supercool them, dropping the resistance close to zero, generating the images produced by the MRI. MRI machines wouldn't be possible because there's no other alternative that keeps these wires cool like liquid helium can. This lighter side of liquid helium can also help those with various types of lung conditions as well. Now that we know that liquid helium atoms automatically bind together, scientists wondered what would actually happen if we tried separating them. Florida State University on December 11, 2015, found how the size and separation of helium particles can change the way we deliver medicine to patients with lung conditions. The size of helium particles are critically important for effective medication, as it's easier for patients to breathe in helium mixtures. They're in the process of developing a cooling technique for particle separation that could help those suffering from asthma to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, or COPD. The usage of liquid helium can also take us to the stars, as NASA reports how it plays a critical role in the pressurizing and purging of rocket propulsion systems. Its low temperature plays an important factor in preventing rocket explosion damage. It could have possibly prevented the explosion of the Space Shuttle Columbia in 1981, where it destroyed over 150 heat shields that protect the shuttle and the astronauts from catching fire. Luckily, no one was hurt. However, they found that this incident couldn't be prevented using liquid helium, as liquid helium-based pressure ideas are still in the making. Instances like this show that liquid helium is needed to take our astronauts on their next mission. Finally, as much as I think helium is such a cool topic, our knowledge of liquid helium is constantly changing of what takes us beyond the clouds. Scientists today are trying to determine if the phenomenon of liquid helium blowing up and over the edge of a beaker in a lab can give them insights on how black holes grow and spread. Liquid helium is an essential component on making observations of the universe overall. And the future looks bright into pulling the next generation of scientists to make these future discoveries. So today, we were lured into what helium is and its properties. Then we were pulled into the new discoveries of superfluid helium before finally getting sucked into the black hole of implications. In the end, they returned the helium back to the cellar, mostly because Sheldon was afraid to get gang noogied in prison. As happy and sweet as this ending was to one of my favorite shows, The Big Bang Theory, the show opens up a greater understanding of physics in today's society, looking at it from a supermassive black hole to a puddle of superfluid helium.
I know what happens after you die. I take your family into a quiet room with Kleenex, and then I say the word dead. Not expired, because you are a person, not milk. And not passed on, because families always want to believe that just means I transferred you to another hospital. Dead. I have to say it, and that's really all they taught us about breaking bad news in medical school. 1 hour lecture. So we learn by watching our teaching physicians. We are their constant companions in this sort of theater of the bereaved, lurking in doorways and bedsides and in the hospital's ER, just waiting to see how soft they made their voices. When did they go to touch someone on the shoulder? How much medical jargon did they use before getting to the word dead? When you train to become a doctor, they don't really teach you about death. They teach you how to prevent it, how to fight it, how to say it. But not how to face it. According to the US National Library of Medicine, a 2016 survey of healthcare providers discovered that 91% of respondents perceived delivering bad news as a very important skill, but only 40% felt that they had the training to effectively deliver such news. And this was before a global pandemic that has resulted in 32.3 million cases of COVID-19 in the United States alone, 575,000 of which have been fatal. The pandemic has continued to intensify challenges because the medical industry rightfully rewards technical proficiency, but does not always recognize the importance of communication skills. Hearing bad news is never easy. A 2020 article from Northwestern points out that patients remember these conversations for the rest of their lives. Doctors remember them too. We will explore this complex reality through the story of one physician who must figure out how to say it, by Bess Stillman. So, on one of my first nights as a training physician in the emergency room, as we worked on the body of a 16-year-old boy with 8 bullet holes in his chest and abdomen, we were almost angry at his body. Is he breathing? Is he bleeding? Is his heart beating? I go to the head of the bed and I plunge a breathing tube down his airway and I hook him up to the monitor that breathes for him. We grab a large bar IV, place one in each arm and an even larger one in his groin, and through that, we start pressure bagging type O negative blood, just trying to replace what he's lost. We put tubes just everywhere. I call for another unit of blood, but no matter how fast we work, we can't work fast enough. The monitor starts to sound this shrill insect whine that's meant to alert us the patient is crashing, which we already know, so it feels less like a warning and more like a rebuke. And then we lose his blood pressure and his pulse. But he's 16, so I perform a trauma Hail Mary. I grab a 15-blade scalpel and I make an incision from the nipple all the way down to the edge of the bed. We take scissors and we cut through the intercostal membrane, take rib spreaders, put them in between his ribs, and we crank his chest open. There's this huge gush of blood and then a moment of stillness, like a second after a lightning strike. Even his blood smells metallic, like ozone. And I place my hands into his chest, put them on his still heart, and I begin squeezing it for him, feeling for damage. And I take my right hand, sweep it down the length of his aorta, but it is so riddled with holes that the frayed pieces just disintegrate in my hands. The first time I had to be the one to deliver bad news to a patient, I was in my last year of residency training. I remember I had to do it in the patient's room because his adult daughter refused to leave his bedside. So I said, "I'm sorry. He's dead. We did everything we could." Then I was supposed to step out of the room, give her a few moments of privacy, but I was paralyzed to this spot by the sense of failure and loss. When I looked into the bed, I couldn't help but imagine seeing my own father in it. And my supervisor must have seen what was going on because she grabbed me by the arm, dragged me outside and said, "Don't you ever do that again. Don't you ever pretend that that loss belongs to you when it doesn't. One day, the person you love is going to be in that stretcher. But today is not the day. You say you're sorry, you mean it, but then you have to walk away." I look up from the boy and I see that my own audience has formed. They wait to see what I do next, and I realize in front of me is a gaping hole and the boy's family will probably be here very soon. So I turn to the surgery resident and I say, "Listen, as fast as you can, you need to get this kid closed up." Not 10 minutes go by when we hear the sound of a woman demanding to be let in. We are not ready. Security tries to keep her out. We are shoving gauze and tubing and surgical equipment into these giant trash bags, but she is a tsunamic force. We barely have the boy closed up and half covered in the sheet when I see her standing in the doorway. Clearly his mother. She goes absolutely quiet. "I'm sorry. He's dead. We did everything we could." She takes a running leap towards the body. A nurse at the head of the bed still notices a needle attached to the suture holding him together, and she plucks it off the table right before the mother lands on top of his body, trying to protect it with her own. She starts keening. It's a terrible sound. I'm sorry. He's dead. We did everything we could. She slides off the boy's body, and I see her put his fingers to her mouth just briefly before placing them against her cheek. I start to walk out as soon as the social worker enters, motioning for the rest of the crowd to follow me out. I think that's what they can learn from me, is how to walk away. And without a moment's break, I have to go see the next patient because there are 40 people in the emergency room and they can't know that I still feel the dead boy's heart in my hand like an anchor. But I know that if I don't put it down now, I may never remember that this loss doesn't belong to me. One day, grief will be mine. But not tonight.
So a couple of weeks ago, me and my buddy are leaving a 7-Eleven, and we see a guy standing in the parking lot brushing his teeth. And we're getting in my car, and my buddy says, "Now, what the hell is that guy standing out in the middle of a parking lot brushing his teeth at 9:30 at night for?" I don't say anything because, well, I did the same thing. I'm 23 years old, and I'm living in Somerville, Massachusetts. Now living in Somerville might be stretching it a bit. I mean, I would say that I was homeless, but Sonny, the Vietnam veteran who lives down on the corner and sleeps near the movie theater, well, he says I live in my car. And if you live in your car, you got a roof over your head. And if you got a roof, well, you're not homeless. Sonny's been doing this a lot longer than I have, so yeah, I don't really argue with them. Men out of work only get in the way. Toxic phrases such as this compromise men when faced with financial insecurities and hardships. When it comes to those experiencing homelessness, which, according to Housing and Urban Development, men make up to 67% of the over 550,000 homeless individuals, the stigmatization of the tribulations actually reinforces the situations that they are in. According to Kevin L. Ford from the University of Iowa, in order to avoid painful experiences of shame and stigma, homeless men develop defense mechanisms. And while these mechanisms do temporarily alleviate these experiences, they have a negative impact on the opportunities to escape homelessness. With needing to acquire food, shelter, and a variety of other amenities being a daily struggle, to be concerned with how you're viewed by society is the last obstacle anybody facing homelessness needs, especially when it's our duty as a society to help them. With more than 1.5 million students currently at risk, according to a study done by the National Center for Homeless Education, the time is more relevant than ever to begin to deconstruct the stigma surrounding homelessness, because to be homeless means to be without a home, not to be less than human. A Roof Over Your Head by Matthew Dix. And 6 months before this, I'm living in a 2-bedroom townhouse. I'm managing a few McDonald's and working my way up the corporate ladder. My best friend was living with me. He just graduated from college and was looking for a job. But then 2 things happened that changed my life. First, my buddy gets the job, but it's all the way up in Connecticut, so he's moving and leaving me. And then at the same time, around $7,000 goes missing from one of the McDonald's that I've been working at, and even though my boss knows that I have nothing to do with it, well, we run into a cop who does, and I end up arrested and indicted. I lose my job, can't get another one, or even collect unemployment. So I end up homeless. And I end up homeless because the people who should be able to help me, well, they can't. I haven't seen my father in years, and my mother has muscular dystrophy. I got a sister that's somewhere, but she's a couch surfing teenage mother, so family's just out of the question. And my friends, they, they try to help. My one buddy says, "Hey, come to Connecticut with me," but I'm awaiting trial, so I kind of can't leave the state. And my other buddy, Alan, he offers to let me move into his apartment, right? And I'm about to, 2 days before I'm homeless. And well, Alan gets back together with his girlfriend, Kim, and now I can't move into the apartment anymore. So I move into my car. I move into my car and I tell everybody I'm fine, but not what I'm doing. I tell them all, yeah, I got a place. And I choose Somerville because it has a lot of parking lots with really great lighting, which is important. I mean, you can't sleep for shits, but you feel safe. When you're homeless, safe is a hell of a lot better than sleep. And I got a job that pays me cash over there. I work on a construction yard and I pick up scrap metal and run nails to guys and that kind of work. And I don't make any money. I get enough to get a few meals a day and put gas in my car. And every day after work, I go to Massasoit Community College. It's about 35 miles south of Somerville, and I go there to shower. Now, granted, there are plenty of other showers closer to me, but the thing you don't realize about being homeless is that you don't expect to be so bored. Man, let me tell you, it's incredibly boring because you don't have your friends anymore. And you're not going to tell them what's up. No, it's not like you have a TV. You're charging your phone at a goddamn Starbucks, and you can't even read a book at night because you got hardly any light on you. So that 30 minutes I spend driving to Massasoit, the 2 hours I spend showering, and the 30-minute drive back, that's the highlight of my day. It's the way I kill all of my hours. And one night, I'm driving back from the college, and I swing by a McDonald's I used to work at, and Mary is the counter person. Now, Mary is this 50-year-old Jehovah's Witness, and she's the sweetest woman in the world. I mean, she used to work for me. And I get my quarter pounder with cheese, and I sit down, and Mary sits across from me, and she's like, "So, where you living now?" And I tell her, "Oh, I'm staying with friends." And she just stares at me. Like, she stares through me. And somehow she knows. She knows, and it occurs to me that I haven't even really told myself this aloud, right? Like every day I tell myself that this is just temporary. Like, look, I grew up poor, okay? And I spent my whole childhood trying to trick my friends and thinking that I had more than I always had. And well, now I'm 23 years old, right? And I'm right back where I was when I was a little fucking kid. I'm trying to trick my friends into thinking that I'm okay when I'm freezing in my car at night. And I'm not homeless for any other reason than shame. And the fact that I'm just too scared to tell anybody I can't take care of myself. But I tell Mary. I tell her, "Yeah, hey, I've been staying in my car, but it'll be fine. Don't worry." And she says, "No. No, you're coming with me and you're staying with us." And I try to protest, but in my head, I'm thinking, there's Thank God. And we get over to Mary's place, and she has a little room to the side of her kitchen, which, used to be a pantry, but now it's a bedroom. And there's 2 army cots in it. There's already another guy here. His name's Rick, and Rick's pretty much just like me. I mean, he's a Jehovah's Witness without a home. But Rick, this guy, he talks in tongues, like in his sleep, all night long. And then they got this little pet pygmy goat, which, originally used to have the room before Rick and I got there, but now shares it with us. And, well, this goat, it's always nibbling at my toes if I don't cover him up at night, or gnawing on my hair. And if I don't get up early enough in the morning, the damn thing will even lick my face. And I lay there on that army cot. It's hard, uncomfortable. But it's the best damn bed I've ever slept on in my whole life.
Imagine getting a flat tire. There's a hole. The tire technician looks it over, ignores the hole, and says, "Hey, sweetheart, you just need air." Some might say you'll overreact. In the case of the tire, it's been mistreated, misdiagnosed, and dismissed. Welcome to the healthcare experience for women in the United States. Now, time to drop them drawers because we're going to examine the patriarchal bias in female healthcare. Whoa, ladies, don't worry, no stirrups for your feet today. Instead, I'll send you home with a prognosis we can all agree on. The idea of anyone who identifies as female having ownership over their own body is a tale as old as time. So let's leave the policing of womanhood where it belongs. In history. In healthcare, male-dominated practitioners and health researchers have created a huge bias against women, biological or otherwise. Gabriel Jackson from The Guardian on November 13, 2019 references a 1960 study where over 8,000 men without menstrual cycles were used as test subjects for a female hormone supplement that prevented heart disease in post-menopausal women. Maybe they were confused by the men. In menopause. It wasn't until 1993 that the FDA would allow women to participate in the clinical testing of drugs. It's time to remove the patriarchal bias in female healthcare. First, we will pull back the curtain on the history of male bias training and medical research. Then examine the current side effects of misdiagnosis in healthcare before finally offering a prognosis we can all agree on. History shows it isn't just a wonky uterus that's making women outraged. Despite my doctor characterizing my outrage as a bit hysterical, you try to touch my uterus, doc, I'll show you a bit hysterical. We've been misinformed since the conception of the pyramids. According to the April 13, 2019 article, Then versus Now, The Decline of the Hysteria Diagnosis, the Egyptians treated hysteria by having women sniff an unpleasant substance, which allegedly moved their uterus back to its rightful place. Pardon me. Nope. This idea that hysteria is a mental disorder only suffered by women persisted until 1980, when the DSM finally removed hysteria as a mental disorder. And the New York Times on May 30th, 2019, Dr. Rebecca Shansky, a neuroscientist from Northeastern University, states the reason women and female animals are often omitted from research are the same: ovarian hormones. By studying males only, scientists believe they could more easily identify the fundamental ways the brain worked without the messiness of fluctuating female hormones. Which I don't get. I have no problem controlling my emotions, and at least we have a hormonal reason for our fluctuations. What was the insurrectionist excuse? In addition, according to Gabriel Jackson, previously cited, because of their childbearing potential, all women were excluded from trials, regardless of their age, sexual orientation, wish, or ability to bear children, where men constantly reproduce sperm, meaning they represent a reduced risk. It sounds like a sensible policy, except it treats all women like walking wombs and has introduced a gaping bias into the health of the human race. Basically, in the womb where it happened has kept women from the room where it happened. And I'm not throwing away my shot. Now that we've explored the historical exclusion of women in medical trials, let's take a look at the misdiagnosis in healthcare. Our health issues have either been ignored or misidentified in the medical world due to male influence. According to the BBC on June 3rd, 2018, throughout history, men have taken the liberty of naming women's body parts after themselves. Gabriel Fallopian for fallopian tubes. You want to know what the G in G-spot stands for? Grafenberg. Ernst Grafenberg. You're going to tell me a man named Ernst is responsible for the best part of my hump day? Oh yeah, right there. That's my Grafenberg spot. The Association of American Medical Colleges reports women count for a meager 25% of full-time professors, 18% of department chairs, 16% of medical school deans, and 13% of healthcare CEOs. Published in 2018, the New England Journal of Medicine reports the mistreatment, underpayment, and exclusion female doctors deal with daily has direct negative consequence for patient outcomes and scientific progress. This male bias doesn't only result in the mindless naming of body parts, it accounts for some really poor bedside manners too. According to the Scientific American on August 6, 2018, approximately 1 out of every 66 women who has a heart attack dies in the emergency room if she sees a male doctor rather than a female one. Ladies, another reason we can't trust a man with a woman's heart. The CDC reported that heart disease is the leading cause of death among African American women, and only second to cancer for Hispanic, Asian, or Pacific Islander. Ha! Take that, cancer! Heartbreak gets me way more. No, I'm not being hysterical. I just wish the people would have heard the wording of the Backstreet Boys and quit playing games with my heart. Dr. Mary James from the National Women's Health Network reports that endometriosis should not be seen as an overreaction to period pain. In a 2017 article from The Guardian, one gynecologist told public health researcher Dr. Kate Young, "Do mad people get endo, or does endo make you mad? It's probably a bit of both." Another said there's just as much psychology as there is pathology and gynecology. Oh, endometriosis, even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. Excuse me. Don't worry, it isn't COVID. My male doctor told me my uterus just moved, so I have life-bringing bars. I spit ovaries. I'm official, no notary, transitioning to my next point, you see. Since we've explored the misdiagnosis in healthcare, let's take a look at a prognosis for treating women better as patients that won't be prescribed in capsules of 15 milligrams. Instead of trying to regulate women's ovaries, we should mandate implicit bias training for healthcare providers. Dr. Denise Davis, clinical professor of medicine at UCSF, states, "Biases are not moral failings. They're habits of the mind." She adds, habits can be changed within the medical community that would increase the likelihood of seeing patients in terms of their unique characteristics, rather than a social or cultural group they belong to. According to healthcatalyst.com in June of 2019, implicit bias training in healthcare, combined with data, identifies disparities in care and performance. And if all else fails, we can always rename our body parts with something that already rates the highest of protections. Guns. I suggest that we rename a few key female body parts. Don't regulate my revolver Aries. I will not put a lock on my action-release labia. It doesn't need one. No background checks before assessing my clitoris 45. And infinite limits on my ejection port vagina. Second Amendment advocates are sure to get behind these changes because it makes them experts on the new terminology, if not the actual body parts themselves. Because shooting a gun doesn't mean you know how to hit a target. Lastly, what can you do? Click on the links provided in the chat and donate to the National Women's Health Network or to the American Medical Women's Association, whose missions are to advance women in medicine, advocate for equity, and ensure women's representation in healthcare. The final thing I ask you to do is advocate for yourself. Go doctor shopping. Take notes of the symptoms you're experiencing. And if you don't like the opinion you're getting, get as many as you need. The doctors work for us. And don't forget it. Good healthcare is human, not just a man right. Today, we examined the patriarchal bias in female healthcare. Through bias training, proper diagnosis, and advocating, we can improve our healthcare system so when we get a flat tire, we get the proper care and not just hot air.
First and foremost, I just want to welcome you to the 2021 Spring Fling Tournament. This is such a great tournament because we get to encourage our new generation of public speakers and indoctrinate them into the lovely practice that is speech and debate. Now, I know that speech and debate is hard as it is, but it is even harder to do this online. But you've done it. You have completed the task, you've done the deed, and I know that I, as well as your coaches, are more than proud of you. Before we begin, there are a couple of thanks I want to give out. These people have made the tournament possible, and they should be recognized for all of the work that they have done. First and foremost, I want to thank Daniel Lopez. He reached out to me and offered me the opportunity to be the tournament director for this particular tournament, an opportunity that I value greatly. Next, I want to thank everyone in the TAB staff. That is Sue Peterson, Nathan Steele, Joey Barrows, and Kelly Hutchison. This team of people worked so efficiently and effortlessly to bring this tournament to life. They met every problem with a can-do attitude, and we've managed to be here on time. So make sure you give them a huge round of applause in your living area. The next group of people I want to give thanks to are Lindsay Ayotte and Sage Russo. These two individuals hosted our hospitality hub, and they are the most charismatic, just funny people that I know all around. I'm gonna take a moment to apologize for my yappy little dog. I'm so sorry. But moving forward, I want to give a huge thank you to this person. This person has actually coached me to where I am without really knowing it. He has, written amazing feedback on my ballots when I used to compete in my undergrad. He has consistently mentored me in different factions of forensics, mentored me during this process, and has consistently shown up for the region of Northern California forensics so many times. And so I just want to give a heartwarming thank you to Ryan Guy. He is an outstanding person, and I'm so grateful to be in his mentorship. Thank you. Before we get to our awards, I want to talk about moving and passing on the torch. As we know, this tournament is not only the place to bring in new folks to the forensics tournament, to the forensics event, but also to introduce our returning competitors to the event and activity that is judging forensics. It is one thing to compete, it's another thing to critique. And we have an award which we call the Best Judge Award for this particular tournament. And that award is going to go to, from Modesto Junior College, Alexis Rangel. Alexis's ballots were clear and concise and full of great feedback that not only uplifted the student and the competitor, but also provided feedback for the betterment of their craft. So give Alexis a round of applause. They deserve it. All right, now for what we're all here for. Let's give a hearty round of applause and welcome to Kelly Hutchison.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kelly Hutchison, and I'm so excited to be here to announce Pattern A finals and the awards for Spring Fling. Before I do so, I'd like to take this moment to thank our tournament director, Pablo Ramirez, for his excellent job of hosting the entire tournament and giving us this opportunity and you all the opportunity to compete at this amazing tournament. I want to second everything Pablo said, that this tournament gives everyone a unique opportunity to kind of trade places for competitors to become judges, as well as introduce the whole new round of competitors into the forensics, an environment that's friendly to novices. So without further ado, I would like to now start the awards celebrations for Pattern A. Prior to doing so, I do apologize if I mispronounce anyone's name. I did try my best to reach out to some coaches to get pronunciations, but bear with me. Alrighty, starting off with our first event in Pattern A, after dinner speaking. We're going to be recognizing the top 3 speakers. In third place, from Diablo Valley College, Duling Ma. In second place, from Butte Community College, we have Lourdes Knowles. And your first place tournament champion in After Dinner Speaking, let's give a big round of applause to Contra Costa College's Anthony Ledesma. All righty, give a big round of applause to all of your After Dinner Speaking competitors. Now, let us welcome our next event of informative prelim. I'm sorry, so sorry about that, y'all. Let us welcome our tournament champions for informative speaking. We're going to be recognizing our top 5, our 2 finalists, and the top 3. So your 2 finalists, first from San Jose State University, Jose Moreno. Your other finalist from UC Chico is Haley Woods. Now for the top 3 speakers. In third place from Chabot College, we have Jasmine Amon. In second place, silver medalist from Fresno City College for informative speaking, we have Cynthia Angulano. And our finalists, which I want to recognize, picket fenced, which means they received straight 1s across the board, is from San Francisco State University, Cody Valezano. That wraps up our informative speakers. So let us move on to our next event. The next event we'll be announcing is Novice Impromptu. This event went to true finals in the sense that we had an elimination round. The other events that I've mentioned did have a great competitive atmosphere, but we did go to a third prelim round. So those were the rankings. And I think it's appropriate to recognize that this event of impromptu had a larger pool, and thus it went to an elimination round. So I will be awarding the top 7 competitors, recognizing the top 3 as well as the other finalists. Alrighty, so finalists for impromptu speaking from San Francisco State University, Karina Yurista. Another finalist from Skyline College, Narissa Chang. Another finalist from Skyline College, Kristina Bernardino. We have another finalist from San Francisco State University, Evan Fields. Now your top 3 impromptu speakers in 3rd place from San Joaquin Delta College, Nawi Gonzalez Milan. In 2nd place from Butte Community College, we have Adrian Diaz. And another picket fence from recognizing your tournament champion of impromptu speaking from Skyline College, Priscilla So. Let's give a big round of applause for all of our impromptu speakers. We had a great pool of competitors in this event. Moving on to our next event in Pattern A, we're going to be recognizing our pros. We have in 2nd place from Butte Community College, Manen Goldfine. And your tournament champion in novice prose from Modesto Junior College is Kylie Duncan. Let's give a big round of applause for all those prose competitors. And now finally, our last event we want to recognize in Pattern A is a debate event, and it's novice IPDA. We're going to be first recognizing the top 6 speakers, and then we will announce in a festival final style the top speakers, or the winners of the debates, pardon me. So recognizing the top speaker awards in IPDA, in 6th place from Diablo Valley College, Sarah Kolinsky. In 5th place from Fresno City College, Dante Medlock. In 4th place from Modesto Junior College, Joshua Bruce. In 3rd place from Contra Costa College, Danielle Tabor Regis. In 2nd place from Modesto Junior College, Nikki Daniels. And your top speaker in IPDA at the Spring Fling is from Diablo Valley College, Moy Lopez. Congratulations to all your top speakers in IPDA. Now let's we're going to be recognizing the speakers, or the debaters, pardon me, but debaters do speak, in a festival finals by recognizing bronze, silver, and gold. So receiving bronze is Fresno City College, Courtney Cooks. Another bronze IPDA debater from Fresno City College is Patricia Wagner. Your silver medalists in IPDA debate from DVC, we have Moy Lopez. Your other silver medalist from Contra Costa College is Danielle Tabor Regis. And finally, we want to recognize our 2 gold IPDA debaters. Most noteworthy is that these debaters won all 3 of their rounds all together. It had 100% wins and a 0 loss record at this tournament. We'd like to recognize those 2 gold IPDA debaters, both from Modesto Junior College. First, from Modesto Junior College, receiving gold, Joshua Bruce. And your other top IPDA debater from Modesto Junior College, Nikki Daniels. Let's give a large round of applause for all of our Pattern A competitors and finalists. Now I'd like to welcome Joey Barrows to announce the Pattern B Awards. And I can't wait to see you all so soon in the future and hear your applause to break up my awkward award announcements. Off to you, Joey Barrows.
Great job, Kelly. Fantastic stuff. I would just like to reiterate everything she said, congratulating and thanking Pablo for running a very smooth tournament, everyone else in tab with me. But I know you want to get on and hear these awards, so I won't hold back. Starting with the Pattern B Awards, we will look at dramatic interpretation first. So the first is a finalist from Modesto Junior College, Tiffany LaRocque. Then in third place from San Francisco State University, Karina Urista. In second place from Modesto Junior College, Kylie Duncan, which makes your tournament champion in dramatic interpretation also from Modesto Junior College, Sandra Sullivan. This is my way of clapping for you all. Alrighty, congrats to everyone in DI. So now we'll move on to extemporaneous speaking. Starting with the finalist from San Jose State University, Sean Muniz. In third place from San Jose State University, Jose Moreno. In second place from San Jose State University, Cyril Buma Good. And finally, your tournament champion in extemporaneous speaking, picket fencing the tournament, taking all ones from Butte Community College, Adrian Diaz. Awesome. Congrats to everyone in extemp. Moving on to poetry. Your finalist from Butte Community College, Sean Brannon. In third place from Butte Community College, Crystal Alvarez. In second place from Modesto Junior College, Carly Falkenberg. That makes your tournament champion from San Joaquin Delta College, Nawi Gonzalez Milan. Awesome. Congrats to everybody that competed in poetry. So now we will move on to persuasive, which, as Kelly described before, did move to a final elimination round, or a true elimination round with 3 judges. So we'll be recognizing the top 5 people who made it to that final round. Starting with a finalist from San Francisco State University, Evan Fields. Then also a finalist from Diablo Valley College, Alejandra Davila. In third place from City College of San Francisco, William Harris. In second place from San Joaquin Delta College, Lennon Olivaria, which makes your tournament champion in novice or in persuasive speaking from Butte Community College, Cecilia Lore Ramsey. Awesome. Congrats to everybody that took place in persuasive. So lastly, we will go to Lincoln Douglas debate, where we recognize the 5 competitors, first by giving out 2 speaker awards to the 2 individuals with the highest speaking points at this tournament. In second place, from Sacramento State University, Ariella Sotelo. And your top speaker at the tournament from Sacramento State University, Mark Espinoza. Awesome, congrats to our top speakers. And now we'll hand out more festival style awards to the 5 competitors. We have 2 bronze, 2 silver, and a gold. Starting with the bronze from Chabot College, Anthony Cantal. Also bronze from Sacramento State University, Jennifer Garibay. Then looking at our silver award winners from Modesto Junior College, Joshua Bruce. And this leaves our two speakers who won the top speaker award. Taking the last silver is going to be Mark Espinoza from Sacramento State. And that leaves your gold award winner in Lincoln Douglas debate from Sacramento State University, Ariella Sotelo. Congrats to everyone that competed in Lincoln Douglas debate. And again, congrats to everybody in all the other events. That's all I got for you, but we do have more awards on the way. Here to announce awards for NCFA for the year is Shannon.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Joey. So I'm here to announce the end of the year awards. And so a lot of these are based on point totals that we've been tracking since last August. So I'm really excited to recognize some of these open and novice level competitors from throughout the Northern California region. So first, I'd like to start with our platform speakers. And for each of these award series, we're going to be giving awards both for the 2-year level competitors and the 4-year college competitors. So first, in the platform speaking from our 2-year is Modesto Junior College, Alexis Rangel. The 4-year platform end of year award is from University of the Pacific, Tanaya Smith. Next, recognizing our fantastic intern performances. First, from our 2-year schools, Modesto Junior Colleges, Bethany St. Smith. Next, an intern from our 4-year colleges, San Francisco State University's Zachary Waters. Moving on to limited preparation speaking, in our 2-year category, the top year award goes to Las Positas Colleges, Brennan Mock. Next, from a 4-year college is University of Pacific, Tanaya Smith. Moving on to Lincoln Douglas debate, first from our 2-year college, broken on speaker points, is from Chabot College, Taraya Wilson. Next, from a 4-year college in Lincoln Douglas, is from Sacramento State University, Aya Aljaburi. Next, in parliamentary debate, from the 2-year college, broken on speaker points, is from Diablo Valley College, Brenna Searson. From a 4-year college, in parliamentary debate, from University of the Pacific, Arshita Sandaparthy. So let's give a round of applause for those end of year awards for our competitors. Next, I'm going to be recognizing some awards that are things that we've voted on as a community. And so each member school was able to submit nominations and then also submit 1 vote for 4 different awards that are really recognizing outstanding individuals in our community. The first award is the Tony Bernacki Award. It's a Distinguished Service Award recognizing a coach in our community or a member that has gone above and beyond the call of duty over a number of years in service for NCFA. And so this individual was instrumental in their role in bringing our tournaments online, just kind of switching over at the last minute like many of us had to do, but these tournaments simply would not have happened without them. And this is just a model of the type of kind of commitment that they've shown through NCFA for their lifetime, in addition to all the other regions that they've competed in and contributed to in forensics. And so the winner of our Tony Bernacki Distinguished Service Award is from Modesto Junior College, and that's Ryan Guy. Next is our New Coach of the Year Award, and this, as the name implies, recognizes a coach that's newer in helping developing their program and is somebody that stands out in kind of bringing the program to life and really working their new skills as a forensics coach. And this year, this award goes to Kim Yi from San Jose State University. Next is the Peer Coach of the Year Award. And this goes to a peer that we're recognizing as somebody who, again, goes beyond the call of duty. They're somebody that's competing in their own rights, but is also taking the time to help out others on their team and do as best as they can to bring up the whole team in addition to their own competitive successes. And this year's recipient for the Peer Coach Award goes to Diablo Valley College's Noah Gordon. And last but not least is our Coach of the Year award. And this Coach of the Year has done a fantastic job at their own school, but also on the national platform, making sure that their competitors see the most successes and are able to have a variety of different opportunities and bringing other opportunities back home here to NCFA as well. And so we'd like to recognize and thank our Coach of the Year, which is from Diablo Valley College, Blake Longfellow. So again, I'll thank our tournament host, Pablo, and Pablo, I'll hand it off to you for any closing words.
Hi, everyone. And as promised, here she is. This is Layla. She likes to think she's a St. Bernard or a Great Dane, but you're tiny, girl. You're tiny. Okay, enough of you. Because the real star is me. No, just kidding. I just want to say once and for all, thank you so much for participating in the Northern California Forensics Spring Fling Tournament. You did it. You spent a Saturday talking about the things that you want to talk about, and I can't be more proud of the work that you've all done. So without further ado, have a wonderful weekend. Bye.